Okay, let's talk about the accommodation application process during the Chevening year. So let's go. Before you continue to watch, please take a moment to hit subscribe below if you haven't already, and make sure you click that notification bell to get notified once I release a new video. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel for another video. My name is Karen Harriet and I am a 2020 Chevening Scholarship recipient from Jamaica. I am in the UK and I am studying my Masters of Sustainability at the University of Southampton. In this video, I will be sharing with you some tips for accommodation application pretty much that I have discovered during my own application process. So hopefully it will help you in terms of yours. So let's talk about that. Right, so in my last video, I actually talked about what happens after the Chevening interview. So what happens once you actually find out that you've been conditionally selected for the award. All right, so you can check that out. All right, so with accommodation, it's actually kind of tricky, especially when you are going from one country to a next. I know that for some persons, they don't want to sign for an accommodation until they actually see it in person. Now for me, I actually did a virtual tour of accommodation. So when I was searching for my university accommodation, really and truly finding options for accommodation is pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward. There are so many websites out there that you can actually visit, but even before that, you can start with looking at your university accommodation, just to see kind of whether or not it is suitable for you. When I looked at my university accommodation, I actually didn't get a whole lot in terms of pictures and all of that. When I'm researching, I like to get as much information as possible. So I really didn't get too much information, but from the ones that I saw anyways, they're a little bit kind of old. They're a little bit outdated, and the newer ones, they're a little bit, more on the pricey side. So I decided that I wanted to do my research into what else was available. So it was either university accommodation or like a private student accommodation, or even rent from somebody's house or something like that. So because I wanted to make sure that all my bills were included in my monthly fee or in my rent, I opted to go for either university accommodation or private student accommodation. So it's actually very important to note like whether or not it is a student accommodation, because the student accommodation, it tends to include all utilities, while non-student accommodation, it doesn't tend to typically include the utilities. So you have to be mindful of that. So another tip I actually got like when I was reviewing my options for university application was that I should probably look to spend about 50% of my or no more than 50% of my allotted stipend on rent. And I actually started to look at the accommodation after getting my conditional award letter, because that would have contained my stipend. I can share it, but I won't share the exact amount, but it was over £1,000 but under £1,200. So it was between, it was just in between there. So I would have been looking to spend no more than 50% of that amount. And honestly, everything like within that ballpark for me, or within that 50% range, it would have meant that I would have had to share my flat with maybe like 5 other persons, and in some cases I probably would have had to share like a bathroom or so. And you know, that's okay if that's what you want to do. I knew that for me, because most of my year I would be spending in my room, because of course it's a COVID year. Of course, you know, we'll be doing a lot of online learning. I knew that because I'd be spending a lot of time here, I would need to be comfortable, right? I actually opted to get I actually did share my flat, but I'm sharing with one other person. She is actually another Jamaican, another Chevener. So that is pretty excellent. We have each other, especially in this COVID year. You know, having good company is fantastic, especially for your mental health. So yeah, in terms of, yeah, it has been a pretty good decision sharing with at least one other person. So you at least have that company. So I actually ended up paying more than the 50% that was recommended, but I'm okay with that. I am not starving. Trust me. The amount of money that we get per month, it can cover everything. I am sure about that. But I just needed to make sure I was comfortable, so I opted to pay for comfort. I mean, I really wasn't going anywhere anyways, because I really couldn't travel anyhow, so I was quite fine paying more than the recommended 50%. All right, so another thing is that during the process I realized that some accommodation, they actually require like a deposit. So yeah, they would require a deposit once you're booking. So actually this one that I'm in right now, they did not require a deposit upon booking. So that was another reason why I kind of opted to go with this one after doing the virtual tour, because I was able to do a virtual tour of a few accommodations around Southampton, and I was pretty satisfied with this one. Oh, I have to say, this is actually a private student accommodation, so it is not university accommodation. I know that for Southampton, if I were to take university accommodation rather, I would have been required to pay a deposit. And as I mentioned, this is a private student housing and I didn't have to pay a deposit, so that was fantastic. One thing though I wish I had done in terms of booking accommodation, I kind of wish I had waited a while. Like I know it would have been risky, but I do wish I had waited before I booked my accommodation, because like in the last week of August, there were quite a bit of sales going on in terms of accommodation, and I missed out on that. So I actually ended up paying more. I guess I'm paying what it's worth, but if I had waited for the sale, and had I known that they would have most likely had a sale at the end of August, I would have waited and booked my accommodation then. So that's something that you can be aware of, that if you have an eye out for a particular accommodation or a few, you could perhaps, you know, kind of risk it. I mean, it's a little bit risky. Risk it and wait until like the final week or the week until like the final week of August, or maybe like the first week in September, in order to book it, because that's when they're trying to get their last available rooms out, so they want to get rid of them fast, so they will have a sale for it. All right guys, so I hope that this information is useful for you in terms of your own application to accommodation, or in terms of your own search for accommodation during your Chevening year, or even like your Commonwealth or your scholarship year, whatever it is, your UK year, even if you're not on a scholarship. Yeah, I really hope that it was useful. Okay, So my next video will actually talk about my Chevening year, or my next video for Chevening will talk about my Chevening year. So I'll give a recap about, you know, what has it been like in terms of being here during COVID. I had an issue with my visa, so I want to talk about that. Talk about COVID in Christmas, or yeah, Christmas. Oh yeah, blended learning, my networking, as well as traveling. All right guys, so thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.